What's up, guys? Stephen Hunt here. I am on day 50 of 75 Hard, and here are 15 things that I've learned in 50 days of doing the 75 Hard challenge. First one is very simple, straightforward. The best time to do something is exactly when you don't feel like it. I can tell you time and time again how many times I felt like just skipping a workout, just eating whatever food I wanted, just missing my reading, not finishing that gallon of water. Every time that I felt like I didn't want to do it, I knew that if I gave in to that temptation, it wouldn't get done and I'd have to start all over again. So I quickly learned in this challenge that the best time to do something is not when you feel the most like it. I mean, that works, but there are going to be times when you don't feel like it, and when you make that conscious decision to say, hey, got to do it, that was when it was the most powerful. That was whenever I felt the most in control of my emotions and the most disciplined. So whenever I was motivated and felt like it, it was easy to just say yes and get it done, but it was really difficult when I really didn't feel like it. So number one, best time to do something is exactly when you don't feel like it. So number two is taking care of yourself, taking care of your health is actually not as hard as you think it is. I have some family members who are what you call granola, like very like earthy, homemade, everything type people. And so they take home health or like self-care, healthcare to the max. And I always thought that it was just this mountainous thing, this mountain that you had to climb where you have to do all of these things to take care of yourself. But honestly, one thing I've learned is drinking a gallon of water, being intentional about what you put into your body is not as hard as you think it is. If you're like me and you just feel like that's a mountain to climb, it's not as hard as you think it is. One thing that I started doing with my gallon of water is I carried this Owala, it's like a 40-ounce Owala water bottle, carried that with me everywhere. And I learned pretty quickly, it's only about 3.5 of those 40 ounces will get me that full gallon. And a lot of times I have it done by 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, if not earlier. And then I'm like, all right, well, I'm still thirsty for the rest of the day. I'm gonna drink water before I go to bed and that sort of thing. So I found out, this water drinking thing really isn't as hard as I thought it would be, just because it just takes a little bit of intention, making it super easy to do. So taking care of your body really isn't as difficult as you might think it is. As far as the eating goes, I stopped focusing on what I was restricting and started focusing on more on what was available, and that was also easy to continue to do. So taking care of your body really isn't as hard as we think it is. So number 3 might be my favorite one, and the biggest epiphany is you're not bad at reading, you just don't read enough. Growing up, I was never a reader. In high school, we'd have these reading assignments and I would always just skip them because, I could just look up Spark Notes. So I always just thought I wasn't a great reader. Well, I started this 10 pages a day and I read books that I was actually really interested in. And what I found is that I actually love reading. And as I kept reading and reading and reading, I would find myself at the 10 pages, which is part of the rules of 75 Hard. Got to read 10 pages a day. And I was like, well, I want to read more. I don't want to just stop here. And so I would just keep reading. And found out pretty quickly, after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it started getting easier and easier to read those 10 pages. Now, it depends on what level of book that I was reading. Some books were really tough to read, but then other books were easy to read. So that changed the amount of time. But the biggest thing that it developed in me was a confidence that I can read and I enjoy reading and I actually like the things that I read. So that was one that really clicked for me. Number 4 was a big eye-opener for me. It's you waste a lot more time than you think you do, like a lot more. I thought I was a pretty disciplined person when it came to my time management, my schedule. But what I found is I used to make all the excuses in the world that I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to read. I especially don't have time to get 2 workouts in. But once I started this challenge, man, I realized just how much time I was wasting beforehand, because I was able to find enough time to do 2 45-minute workouts, read at least 10 pages a day. Oftentimes I read more, and take my progress pictures every morning. So some of the things ended up being compounding habits, like stacking your habits, as James Clear talks about in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Stacking your habits, where sometimes I would go on a run or go on a walk, and I would bring my book with me, and I would read while I was walking and knock out my reading during that time. But the point is I had so much more time on my hands that I thought I was using well, but until I started this, I didn't realize how much I was actually wasting. So that's number 4. You're wasting a lot more time than you really think you do. So the 5th thing that I learned is obstacles are actually just opportunities to prove yourself right or prove yourself wrong. This challenge is a lot about disciplining yourself to be the person that you say you're going to be. And there was a lot of obstacles throughout this time frame that gave me opportunities to either push through and do what I said I was going to do, or kind of bow out and prove myself wrong, not do what I said I was going to do. And that's probably been one of the most rewarding things through all of this, is learning that I can be and I am the type of person who does what I say I'm going to do. And that's only learned through that hardship. When I was just starting, I was super motivated. I was like, dude, this is easy. How do people struggle with this? And then 2, 3, 4 weeks in, I remember specifically day 30. That was a tough day. I did not feel like doing anything. Pretty sure it was a Sunday. Didn't have to work. I was tired. I didn't feel like doing anything. And that was a challenging time, but I got it done. Why? Because it mattered more to me to overcome that obstacle, to be the type of person who does what they say that they're going to do. So obstacles are just opportunities to prove yourself right. Number 6 is discipline is 95% showing up or starting and 5% follow through. The follow through is actually a lot easier once you get started. I've heard people say this before, but I never actually experienced it for myself. Going back to my number 1 is the best time to start is right now, especially when you don't feel like it. Those moments where I didn't feel like it, I found that if I just put my shoes on and I went outside, started to walk, or started to run, or started doing push-ups, as soon as I started and I started my timer, I was like, well, I'm already here, I'm doing it, I might as well finish all the way through. So the follow through part was actually the easy part once I got started. The starting part was the hardest part. So I learned that discipline a lot of the times is just 95% starting, and that last 5% is the follow through, because of course you got to follow through, but got to focus on the start. By the way, check out the sky. We're in Amarillo, Texas, baby. Best sunsets in the world. Maybe not better than Hawaii, but best for Texas. Number 7 is I learned through 50 days of 75 hard, I learned that you underestimate your ability to figure things out. There was a lot of personal challenges and scheduling obstacles. I had days where I had to work 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours in a full day, and I still had to get workouts. I had days where I would drive from Amarillo to Austin, which is a 7.5 hour drive, and I'd still have to get my workouts, my time, my reading, my diets, everything. So some days I did look ahead and plan things out. Other days I just had to figure it out. And a lot of times I think we underestimate our ability, or our confidence, like our ability to just figure things out when things are tough. And sometimes that stops us from following through, or trusting our gut, or trusting ourselves to get it done. Because I remember when I started this challenge, I looked ahead at my calendar. I was like, man, I got at least like 5 or 6 travel days I'm going to be in Austin, days I'm going to be on the road. I don't know if I'll have a gym. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do these things. I knew that I had competitions that would require me more hours in the office, more work, but I didn't know if I was going to be able to overcome all those obstacles. And I just said, you know what? I'll figure it out. And I'm really glad I did, because without this, I would have had a much harder time personally overcoming the personal challenges that I did over the last month. So that's lesson number 7 or 8, is you underestimate your ability to figure things out. Try that again. Number 8, the bar for being ordinary is so low that to be extraordinary is really not that hard. Think about it. How many of your friends actually read a book every day? For me, a lot of my friends don't. How many people do you know make sure that they drink a gallon of water every single day? If you just did those 2 things, you're separating yourself apart from the crowd. And by definition, that's extraordinary. It might not be the best in the world. It might not be your best, but hey, that's better than what other people are doing. That might be better than what you're doing right now. So being ordinary is just doing what everybody else does. Being extraordinary is doing a little bit more. So the bar for ordinary is so low today that being extraordinary is actually a lot more attainable than you might think it is. So don't be afraid to try and be better, try to be extraordinary. That's number 8. Okay, number 9 of the 15 things that I've learned through 50 days of 75 hard, disciplining yourself is truly loving yourself. Through this challenge, I've had to discipline myself a lot and become an entirely different person. And in the pursuit of that, I've felt more self-care, more love, and more attention to myself and the betterment of myself than I ever have and that I've ever treated myself. There are times in my life where, I was really big into my self-care, my mental health. I had night routines, I had morning routines. I had all the things. I read my Bible, I pray, and a lot of those things are good, but through that, I wasn't disciplining myself. I was doing it because I thought I was taking care of myself, but I wasn't doing things that I didn't want to do. I was doing those things because I wanted to do them. But what I found is doing the things that you don't want to do, that's discipline. That's where you need to rely on discipline. And honestly, that's where you grow yourself the most. That's where you begin to love yourself. So that's my number 9. Discipline is truly loving yourself. 10 out of 15. Number 10 is once the first domino falls, the rest are a lot easier. I noticed that once I finished my gallon of water, or once I read my 10 pages for the day, I was like, oh, I only got 4 more things to follow. I only got 2 more things to do. I only got 1 more thing to do. It was a lot easier to finish all of my tasks for the day when I knocked over that first domino. The other side of this is, as I was developing myself in this area, I also noticed that it became a lot easier to do the other things that I needed to do as well, like reading my Bible or following the other habits that I knew I needed to do and wanted to do, but I just didn't do in the past. So doing this challenge, once I got done with these tasks, once I built up kind of the skill of being disciplined and doing what I said I was going to do, other things in my life started to fall into place and take place. So that's why discipline, it truly is a valuable skill set to have, because it'll allow you to grow not just with your mindset, but also in other areas of your life. So that's number 10, is once that first domino falls, it's easy to put up the other ones and knock them down too. Number 11 of my 15 things I've learned through 50 days of 75 hard is you got to climb the hill before you can climb the mountain. And I see this a lot, especially with people I work with, people I know, people I've mentored. But a lot of times we think that in order to become the best, we got to do what the best does, or we have to do the hardest thing that we can imagine with our brains. And the truth of it all is, yes, that's ideal, But none of us are in ideal situations when we start out. Um, when, for example, when Steph Curry went into the league, he wasn't on a national championship team, so he wasn't able to win a national championship in his first, 5 to 7 years with the league before they became a contender. The point is if you've never been on a diet regimen, or been on a workout regimen, or read anything, like maybe you don't even know how to read. If that's you, well, don't try and read the Odyssey as your first book. Don't try and read Shakespeare as your first book. Don't try and put the most disciplined regiment of your diet as possible, because you're probably not going to hit it. You're probably going to fail, and then what's that going to do for you? That's going to make you frustrated and make you disappointed in yourself. So you're going to end up quitting and not hitting your goal that you set out to do in the first place. So you actually go backwards in your discipline. You actually go backwards in your motivation because you set a goal so high that you couldn't accomplish it because you didn't have any skill sets or any discipline to even climb that hill. So I'm all for setting goals and going after them, even if you don't think that you can hit them, because that causes yourself to grow. But there's a limit to this, in the sense of, do you want this to change your life and be sustainable? Do you want to build foundations to continue to grow upon? Because if I consistently set goals that I can't hit, I'm not building a foundation for any long-term sustainability. I am setting myself up to fail over and over again, which, if I don't have a lot of confidence to start with, that's going to kill my confidence, and it'll be difficult to keep going. So climb the hill first before you set off on the mountain. You can climb the mountain someday when you've acclimated, when you become ready, when you've prepared yourself, when you're on that championship team, or when you've created that championship team, then you can go be a championship team. But you got to do the work first. Climb the hill before you try the mountain. Number 12, discipline is contagious. One thing that I've loved about this challenge is that what I've been doing, I've shared with a few people in my close circle. I'm not telling everybody about it, but as I've been doing it, people notice, people ask, and people get inspired. One of my buddies started working out twice a day because he was like, dude, I got time on my hands. Might as well, Steven's doing it. I can do twice a day. So he started working out twice a day. One of my friends started reading more. Some of my girlfriend or her mom or her dad will go on a walk with me for my second workout late at night, making sure that I get it in. They'll walk with me, and it's become contagious, where when you live out the life that you're supposed to, other people get inspired by that and can do that too. Now, that's not to say that you should tell everybody about what you're doing and brag about it and, be bodacious about it, which is an awesome word, by the way. But, when you share it with your close circle, people that you trust, people to help you hold yourself accountable, sometimes that inspires them to follow pursuit. So, again, discipline is contagious. Number 13 of the 15 things that I've learned through 50 days of 75 Hard is pushing yourself is the challenge. That's the hard part. After about 2 weeks, I really got into a rhythm. I knew when I was working out, I knew what I was going to do for my workout, I knew what I was going to eat, I knew when I was reading. I really got into a routine, and it became more or less easy. Now, it wasn't easy in the sense, but it became easier just to follow this routine because I was just doing what I was doing every single time. The challenge, though, was to push myself to do more than what I did last time. Sometimes, whenever I had long work days, I would just walk for one of my workouts, or maybe sometimes even both of my workouts. The reason why is because I had no energy. I'd been working all day. I was so tired, and I needed to just get in my workouts. So I would just walk. I'd walk for 45 minutes, and that was good. And that was challenging in that moment because I was so exhausted from that work, from that full day. but I still could get it in. Where the drawback is on the days where I didn't work, or the days that I didn't have to work that hard, I wasn't exhausted, and I would be like, oh, I can just walk as one of my workouts. Well, in that moment, I wasn't really pushing myself because I wasn't exhausted. It's just something I was used to. So pushing myself has been the biggest challenge through this all, is not getting it done, but doing my best in each thing. Working out harder, pushing myself to exhaustion, pushing myself to be my best in each workout. That was the challenge of the 75 hard, was not just getting into the routine of it, but actually trying to become better in each action that I was taking. And that applies to a lot of other things in life. So that was number 13, is pushing yourself outside of the routine to be your best. That's the real challenge. Okay, number 14 of the 15 things I've learned through 50 days of 75 hard is actually one of my favorite Alex Hormozi quotes. Confidence is just stacking up proof that you are who you say you are. That's one thing that I've actually experienced in this challenge, is that every day that I did what I said I was going to do, every day that I got my reading in, I got my workouts, I didn't break my diet, every single day that I did these things, my confidence for the next day, for the next week, grew. Where I remember, week 1, I was kind of concerned on if I was going to finish this push or this challenge. Week 2 felt a little bit better, but I was still really challenged. Week 3, the motivation wore off, and now it came down to just like discipline and doing what I said I was going to do. That's really where it became like a large challenge. And I was concerned, am I still going to do this? But one day at a time, I took it and did my best each day. And here I am 50 days in, and I have the confidence that I have the skill set, I have the discipline to actually finish through, to actually finish strong. So I think Alex Hormozi puts it best when he says confidence comes from stacking irrefutable evidence that you are exactly who you say you are. And so that means doing the things that you say you're going to do over and over and over again. So that's number 14. Before we finish, I want to show you guys where I'm at. I'm just walking around in a neighborhood right now. Sometimes I walk in the street, sometimes I walk on the sidewalk. But this has been the neighborhood that I've walked over and over again throughout my push, throughout this challenge, to make sure I get my workout in. And honestly, it's been such a blessing to have a quiet, calm place to be able to make sure I get at least my outdoor workout in, plus the rest of them. Sometimes I just do push-ups in my room, but that can get cramped and boring and repetitive. So, okay, with that said, we're on to number 15. This is the 15th thing of the 15 things that I've learned in 50 days of my 75 hard challenge. And this one is probably my favorite. Number 15, when things don't go your way, your habits are what you fall back on. This can make you feel really, really good, or it can make you feel really, really bad. When I started this challenge, I was having one of the best summers that I've had as a business owner working in sales. We had our best May that we've ever had. We had our best June that we've ever had. We're having our best year that we've ever had. I started this challenge on July 5th, and slowly and surely, every piece of momentum that we had in our business started to crumble in my hands before my eyes. It all fell apart. And it was really hard. It was really challenging. It was really disheartening. I felt like quitting. I felt like giving up. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I felt like I lost my mojo. I felt like that maybe it was a sign that it wasn't meant to be. And that all happened about in week 2 through 4 of this challenge. And I'm going to be honest with you, it was really, really tough. But the thing that I fell back on when work wasn't going good, was at least I was reading. At least I was drinking a gallon of water each day. I was working out twice a day. I was following a diet. I was keeping true to my habits. And these are the type of habits that when I fell back on, I felt really good about myself because I was doing habits that were better for myself, that were growing myself. In the past, I may have fell back on habits like playing video games, isolating myself, watching movies or YouTube or TikTok, binge eating, just going out to eat all the time to make myself feel better. Those habits, had I been participating in those, would have made me feel terrible about myself, not better about myself, would have made me feel terrible about myself. And that's why something like this matters so much, is because the only guarantee that we have in life and in business is things aren't going to go our way. And someday we'll die, okay? So between now and then, it's just going to be a myriad of fixing problems and enjoying the in-betweens. So when those problems come up, you got to have something to fall back on where you can draw joy, you can draw contentment, you can draw confidence. And where my business was failing, I was succeeding. And this is the biggest lesson that I learned, is that people ask me, hey man, how's business going? How's work? How's your summer? Like, dude, it was it was tough, but my habits are better than ever and I feel great about that. And so that's why something like this is so important to do and to follow through on. To start is when things don't go your way, not if, but when things don't go your way, you have something to fall back on, knowing that you are who you say you are and you're bettering yourself. You're controlling the controllables. And these 5 things of the 75 Hard Challenge are all controllable. So I hope this inspires you. I want to hear the lessons that you learned through 75 Hard. And honestly, if nobody watches this, I'm okay with that, because this is about becoming the best version of myself. And I hope anybody else that might see this would be inspired to do the same. And that's what posting this video is about for me, is continuing to become the best version of myself in all things that I do. So thanks for watching. If you are watching this, click subscribe, leave a comment. What was your favorite one of the 15 things? And appreciate you guys. Have a good night. Peace.